I kind of begrudgingly respect just the dedication to not getting better at what you do for a living. Just coast through life.
It probably shouldn't even happen.
If you got it, you got to flaunt it, Acid.
You know what? I got a lot of stuff that I don't want to flaunt, so I just keep it to myself.
Jeremy is really big into the used mattresses. Excellent deal.
He has a used mattress store on the side. And we found out that Anthony's friends are all 13-year-old boys. Nice.
Whoever wins gets Acid's ball soap.
Clay, how you doing?
Doing a little more poorly after that terrible introduction. I was just fine, to be honest with you.
Hello, sci-fi gangsters. This is the show where we talk about science fiction, comic books, and video games, but really it's just an excuse for me to catch up with my friends and to meet interesting people. I'm Anthony Dar, media scholar and person who's finally getting over the con crud. I think I've crossed over the barrier. Of course, the first thing I did was I tested for COVID because according to the DragonCon Facebook group, everybody has gotten COVID, right? So,
wow.
I tested for COVID. It was negative, right?
Good.
I wasn't feeling too bad, but I was concerned that it was COVID. But it looks like it wasn't. But I'm finally feeling a whole lot better. So that is good. But that is today's topic. We're talking about DragonCon. It's a recap show. It's a review show. What did you like? What did you not like? That's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. It could be particular things that happened at DragonCon or just experiences. That's kind of what I'll be doing when I'm talking about my three favorite experiences that I had at DragonCon. But before we begin with this topic, let's go ahead and introduce the panel. We'll start off with my co-host, Jeremy. Jeremy, how you doing?
I'm good. I am still 60% asleep. So we'll see how soon the coffee kicks in.
And that's another thing about it is like, I'm not sure if I'm actually sick or I'm just tired. Like that's my main issue is just like, feeling like I'm still recovering. How am I still tired? I've had 3-4 nights of sleep. It doesn't make any sense. And of course you still got to go to work and everything, which is always fun. But yeah, so Jeremy, good to have you here. We'll go ahead and move on to the producer of the show, Acid. Acid, how you doing?
I'm doing a lot better than I was last time we talked, so that's good. Things are kind of slowed down at work.
Yeah, last time before we talked, you were kind of talking about the stress of work, right? It was kind of weighing you down a little bit. You saying things are looking okay now?
They're not looking okay. I'm learning things about myself that I never knew I had, in the back of my mind. I'm starting to train myself on not caring about a lot of things, which have kind of helped. So when I do get screamed at and cussed at by a parent or whatever, I can just be like, whatever, and then hang up the phone. So I don't let it bother me anymore. That was a big, I usually take a lot of things personally, even though they're not personal towards me. And so I've been trying to train my brain to, I don't care about these people, like I do, but I don't, I don't when they act like that anyway. So.
Yeah. As someone who's a parent who often has to deal with other parents are the worst. Like I don't know what it is about, but like if it's like ridiculous. An excuse that you have kids and like, I care about my kids, therefore I'm allowed to be a jerk to other people. I don't get it. Like, so it can be pretty bad.
It does, but we're getting good, getting better.
Well, fantastic, Acid. We'll kind of talk more in depth about what's been going on, perhaps on a different episode. But we'll go ahead and move on to Tony. Tony, how you doing?
Hey, good morning. I'm with Jeremy. I'm a little tired. For those that don't know, we're recording a little early today. I too, you may hear me sipping on the coffee. And much like you, Anthony, fortunately, I tested last night, no COVID, but just exhaustion, from the madhouse that is DragonCon.
And of course, you can check out Tony P. Henderson's podcast is it the Oddcast? The Tony P. Oddcast?
It is Tony P. Oddcast. Wherever you find podcasts. And I also do a show called In Addition, because it is in addition to the other shows that we do. It's just a little panel, much like this, a little panel show where it's an excuse to just chat with friends, but we have a good time. It's all at TonyPHenderson.com. All my stuffs.
All the stuff is on the link in the description below, guys.
Look at that. Appreciate it, man.
Of course.
Sounds fantastic. And of course, you can always check us out at sci-fi-gangsters.com, and you can listen to the podcast version of this episode wherever you get your podcasts. On Spotify, it's the video. The video's on Spotify too. So if you want to see our pretty faces, you can also check us out on the Spotify. Right next to Joe Rogan, right? We always want to be associated with Joe Rogan. That's what I always say. All right. So anyways, all right, so let's go ahead and get to talking about Dragon Con, right? So I feel like we're probably going to spend a lot of time discussing. We'll take turns talking about what we enjoyed and perhaps maybe what we didn't enjoy, and we'll kind of feed off of that. So I'll go ahead and begin by first starting off how much fun I had cosplaying, right? So for those of you who know, who have been listening to this show, you know that all throughout summer, I have been building my Venomized clone trooper cosplay. It's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of money, right? And I've been sort of working through that, dealing with some issues in terms of how to make things fit my legs, because I'll give credit to Tristan Maker, who is he's on Etsy and he's on YouTube, and he provided the template. So I bought his template to make the clone trooper, but his dimensions for the legs were incredibly small. Like incredibly small. So I had to extend it. So I had some difficulty finding ways to extend that. But all in all, the templates were fantastic. They were easy to follow. But also able to experiment with it by making a Venomized clone trooper. So that was a whole lot of fun. So being able to cosplay, I cosplayed 3 nights. So it was Thursday, it was Saturday, and it was Sunday. And each time I hung around in the suit for longer, right? So it was an extremely uncomfortable thing to be in for a long time, because it's obviously you have the whole armor on, you have the mask. And in the Marriott in particular, especially the first couple of days, it was extremely hot in there. So the thing I quickly realized though is, and this is kind of reminding me of,
I got a picture of it right here.
You have the picture up there? Fantastic.
But I got a picture going right now.
Well, there's the picture, obviously. And obviously all my pictures are on my social media accounts as well, right? But I'm walking around in it. And this actually kind of reminded me as my time as a firefighter, is that when you first put it on, you're extremely hot and you start sweating a lot. Like you're just flowing sweat. But then at a certain point, you just get used to it and you stop sweating, right? So it sort of reminded me, it's like, oh yeah, I remember this. Like you put the turnout gear on, you're sweating, but after a while you just stop. So that's kind of what, once you get to a certain point wearing everything, you just stop sweating. Like you just get used to the heat. So it's super hot, but you get kind of used to the heat. So walking around wasn't that difficult. I was kind of, I didn't know how I would, obviously I spent a lot of time in the cosplay and I wanted to show it off, but I was like, how much do I actually want to walk around with it on, right? So, but I've quickly realized that every time someone would ask for a picture, like it made me want to stay in it that much longer. So it's like picture, and I just kept walking around. I found a spot to kind of to hang around in the Marriott, and then every once in a while I'd move around and I'd pick another spot. So I'm kind of just hanging around there, just waiting, literally just saying, hey, look, I'm here for pictures if you need it, right? 'Cause that's kind of what people do when they're cosplaying. They just pick a spot and they just wait around. Quickly realized that picture after picture after picture after picture, and I would find other, close cosplays. So I found a Carnage there. So there was a really cool Carnage, and I was like, I just stood next to the Carnage, and that generated a ton of pictures. So it was fun. It's kind of an interesting sensation because a lot of people ask me, like, why do you do it? Like, why do you cosplay? And the thing that helps me best describe it is, it's almost like you're a painter and you painted something and you wanted to display it somewhere and you want to be around the painting to talk about it, right? So you're showing off your work. Mm-hmm. That's what it feels like. You made something and you're walking around in it, and you sort of get the satisfaction of people enjoying it. So I totally understand why people cosplay. Like I totally get it now. So it was a fun experience. My first time, like with truly, obviously I've cosplayed before, but this is something that I've made from scratch. So it was a whole lot of fun. Already have ideas for next year. Already have ideas of how to make the Venomized Clone Trooper even more in depth. So I want to add stuff to the actual helmet this time. Like I want to be able to add the teeth and the tongue coming out, which I definitely can do. It would be easy to do. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's my number one thing.
I'm excited for you, man, because like cosplay is just not for me in that I don't like wearing stuff. I don't like wearing a mask. Like I would get annoyed and I would not have fun, you know? But I did see you working on it and we've talked about it and I saw the pictures. So like I'm legitimately hyped, man, that you were able to put it on and enjoy it and have fun and other people enjoyed it. That's why, you know, it's stuff like that, man. That's why I love the convention.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'll kind of talk about this more perhaps when other people are chiming in. So I'm not just talking all by myself here, is that I have found that what I have enjoyed about cons has slowly shifted from when I first started going to cons. Like what I do at cons now is completely different than what I used to do. And I'll talk about that perhaps later.
Now, how many people did you hit with the stuff coming off your legs and your arms?
Symbiotes.
Like, yeah.
So everybody.
Who did you run into?
So I had tentacles ripped off, not by people, but by things. So like stop signs and everything. I had a tentacle ripped off by a stop sign. I had things fall off all the time. I had to repair it multiple times. So I'm so glad that I brought my super glue because or my Gorilla Glue because like many of my stuff was like damaged. Well, I couldn't wear it anymore. So I had to put it back together with the Gorilla Glue, and it worked out pretty well. But so yeah, definitely recommend if you want to cosplay, you need to bring like a repair kit. Most certainly.
Okay. It looks very good. Very good. I like the picture. Very good.
Well, thank you very much. And obviously, the cameras that people bring to Dragon Con are impressive. And when you see a picture done by like a really good camera, you're like, wow, that's I should be paying you for this. That is amazing. But yeah.
How many of those cameras do you think the photos never go past the person's personal hard drive?
I don't know. That's a good question. Probably a good deal.
I mean, this is my continuing critique of I'm a professional photographer, and I'm only going to take pictures of the girls, and it's weird.
Oh, yeah, that's
that
definitely
is a little weird.
Yeah, that's most certainly different. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's out there. Now, I will say, I found pictures of Anthony in the wild. Like, people are like, hey, here's 30 pictures I took of just stuff I liked. And I was like, oh, I know that guy. And, you know, you'll start running into that. But unfortunately, I think you're right, Jeremy. There's, you know, some creeps as well.
Most certainly. Well, we'll go ahead and get to Jeremy. Jeremy, what's one thing you liked or you did not like about Dragon Con?
So this is probably one of my more controversial things, I'll say. You know, so one of the big things that I was excited about was because it was the first year we had gotten into a host hotel. And staying in a host hotel is 100% overrated.
Really? Okay.
What?
And now you know.
What host hotel did you stay in?
One of the main host hotels. So
okay.
So in the Marriott, right? I have stayed in the Hilton, unrelated things before. The truth of the matter is these are just old hotels. They're not that nice. Marriott, the AC system is terrible. The elevators, right? So it takes so long to get to your room. It doesn't actually save you any time than if you stay, 10 minutes off site and walk. The whole, go up to go down to go up system that people used on the more packed days was infuriating. So like if you're trying to live as a normal, sensible human and using elevators the way they're intended, you essentially sometimes just can't use them. And so you had to become a bit of a beast and just throw out all social norms and just say, hey, I was here first. I don't care if you're 80, deal with it and just get on the elevator. So like it was not for me. I don't think I'll ever stay in one of the main ones again. I would stay in the Westin. I do like the Westin quite a bit. Um, but yeah, I think especially for the price, um, it's it's just not worth it because they're just not that nice of hotels.
Interesting.
Yeah. So to kind of, I obviously I didn't stay with you in the Marriott. I actually got kicked out. I'm just kidding. No, I didn't. But
Yeah, you did.
there was two groups, and I ended up going with the other group. So I didn't really have a lot of experience in the Marriott, but everything that you were telling me about it just sounded horrible. And so I stayed at the Home 2, and let me just tell you, I loved it. The only annoying thing was the long walk in cosplay, right? It was kind of annoying to walk, to put full cosplay on and walk the whatever it took, the 10 minutes to get to the actual convention area. So that was the only thing. But I will say about Home 2 is breakfast in the morning, coffee, quiet in the morning. I could go sit down. I could get a little bit of writing done early in the morning. Elevators was never really an issue. I didn't have to worry about the elevators. And I'll say it again. I've been saying it too much. It's annoying Jeremy, but the shower was freaking amazing. Just the shower, it was like a waterfall shower. So I was taking a shower just for the fun of it. At one point, I'm gonna hop in the shower.
Like you're 16 again.
I know. I'm telling you, it was
Stayed
childish.
in the shower for hours.
You can't have too many showers at Dragon Con. Usually you're hot and gross.
So I enjoy the hotel that I was staying at. The only annoying thing was, I mean, the walk is not bad if you're not in cosplay, but if you're in full cosplay, it could be annoying. And the one day it rained, and I got soaked on the way home. Cosplay got soaked, everything got soaked. So that was the only annoying thing. But for the most part, I enjoyed my
The
stay.
thing is, your cosplay would have gotten destroyed in those elevators.
Yeah, I
at the
believe it. Yeah,
Marriott.
I believe it. Yeah.
So now, and I'm just before I forget. So now you've done your cosplay, right? So are you going to retire this particular cosplay and then do a different one every year, or like what? I guess what I'm trying to say is, how about you get you a bunch of those stand up mannequins and you can dress the mannequin and have it as a decoration in your office there.
I
And
most
then just
certainly
have a
want to do
different
that.
cosplay every year, and then you just this was 2022, this was 2023, and then you have your line of cosplay mannequins. Like,
Well, I know for a fact I most certainly can't bring two cosplays. Like
Right.
I can't
Yeah, no.
physically. It was a pain in the butt to transport the cosplay that I had. I had a huge firefighter bag that I borrowed from Melinda, and
Mhm.
that was filled with all the armor, and I still had to carry the chest. So like
Oh, wow.
there's no way I could carry two. So I would have to decide, am I going to make, because I really want to make a Halo, like a crossfoot, like a Halo, like crossover, like a Starfleet Halo. Like to me that would be fantastic. But yeah, I have ideas for how I can make the Venomized Clone Trooper better. And so if I did that, that would have to be it. That's what I would bring to Dragon Con. That's what I would cosplay as, unless I wanted to do
Okay.
something where I wouldn't have to carry a lot of stuff, So
Acid, you'll see, like, once you get a thing like Anthony, you want to
Mhm.
make it excuse me, better and better and better. So like over the next 2 or 3 years, we may see, and it looked awesome now, but then like it'll just add to it, and
Improve upon
I've
it.
seen people's costumes they just stick to it, but yeah, improve on it.
I got
So,
you. Okay.
Manager, I hate to hear you didn't love a host hotel, only because there is so much hype, and it's like, oh, finally you made it. But I don't disagree with you. I was at the Hyatt for the first time. Normally I do Westin, and never had any issues at the Westin. It's comfortable, it's nice. Did Hyatt for the first time, and yeah, the elevators are a mess, without a doubt. There's no way around that. Everything else was great. They just recently remodeled the Hyatt, so we had like nice new rooms. But I've stayed at that Marriott before for non-Dragon Con, and you're right. I was not, I was kind of disappointed. Like, oh, this is it, like I was expecting, something more, after all the hype.
and
Yeah, the
everything that
Hyatt,
happened with the. Sorry, go ahead, Jeremy.
No, I was just saying, like, just being in, the lobby, the Hyatt feels like this will probably be the best experience of staying. Like, it feels the cleanest, it feels the, sort of newest. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think Anthony was going to talk about everything that happened at the Hilton.
Yeah, people are understandably upset with everything that's been going on in the Hilton, and you can definitely if you were following Facebook, you can definitely see that the Hilton had a game plan for how they were going to handle, and I use handle the right way, right? I'm using that deliberately, how to handle the Dragon Con crowd. And it backfired right off the bat. Like it just like it was a horrible attitude by everybody. They almost treated it like, all right, here we go. We have all these nerds that are going to be here. How are we going to control them? And that just was not the way to do it. And then everything else that happened with the flooding and everything. So just, staying in a host hotel does not, I'm not interested in that at all. Right. So perhaps the Westin, maybe, I don't know, but I enjoyed having a non-host hotel. So there you go. So let's go ahead and move on to Tony. Unless, we'll go move to Tony. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's see. So I'm doing two things I liked, one I didn't. So off the first thing I liked, tying into Anthony, and Anthony, I hope to see you next year, was I got to host a costume contest this year. A lot of fun. I had been wanting to host one for a while. I got lucky. This kind of came to me. I was like, yeah, of course, let's do it. And it was fun. I don't like making costumes myself, but I like being around it. I like hyping the people up that, these people, much like Anthony, spend hours and, hundreds of hours and time and money and stuff. So it was fun to be able to hype them up, have them come out, show their thing. Fortunately, I didn't have to pick a winner. I was like, dude, these are all amazing to me. I don't know any different. But we had judges that picked based on the craftsmanship, and they know what they're talking about. So yeah, that was one of my highlights, hosting a costume contest. And again,
that sounds like a whole,
Anthony, I'm waiting. I want to see you there next year. You just got to sign up in time. Apparently it filled up quick.
Yeah. And I think that was the main thing about it as well. So maybe next year, maybe I'll go ahead and stick with Minimized Clone Trooper, and I'll add some things to it to make it a little more intricate.
So is there a certain quality of cosplay you have to have in order to even enter these competitions, or can you just throw in a hat and tell them that you're a frat boy and you walk across the stage and lose?
Well, that's funny you say that, because there's different contests. So the Friday night costume contest is judged purely on craftsmanship. So the judges are like professional costume makers in like theater and movies and stuff.
Oh, I got you.
And no, they're looking for, first off, let me say they prejudge them. I hope a little cat out of the bag here. Because they prejudge them so they can look at them up close and like touch the material and look at the hems and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
So that level, that contest, they're judging closely. However, there's a Sunday night contest, which they actually call the Masquerade, which is a combination of costumes and like skits and silliness and
like
things of that nature. Yeah, you know what?
Cosplay talent show?
Kind of, yeah. And the person who, I don't know if they won or not, but they did a Toad costume from Mario and danced around to a Toad version of a Sia song. And what's funny is I saw her TikTok, and she's standing around a bunch of like, she's won other contest, which puts her in a like elevated category, but her costume's super simple. And she was like, I'm just here because I do a funny skit, but my costumes are trash. It was just a mushroom head and like a diaper. So it depends on the contest. That was my long way of saying,
gotcha.
It depends on the contest, and it's open to anyone. So like, if you really are into the craftsmanship, there's a contest for that. If you just want to get on stage and, act silly and have a funny costume, there's a place for that too.
I gotcha. A little bit of everything.
Well, fantastic. Acid, do you want to say something before we move on to our next?
Yeah, actually,
Acid was there this year, right? Isn't this
Yeah.
year you made it?
I was there in spirit. Absolutely. Yeah.
Did you at least get a new PC?
That's funny. I actually did order my
Fine.
my Christmas present. It's supposed to be here Monday. Part of my Christmas present. I ordered a Steam Deck. So the big one. So I got the nice fat, $700 whatever Steam Deck. So I'm excited to goof around with that when it comes in. But no, I guess your most recent podcast, Tony, you mentioned that you were going to interview Arthur Darvill. Did you get a chance to do that?
I did.
I wanted to hear how that went.
One of my panels was Arthur Darvill and Olivia Swan.
Mm-hmm.
The panel was put together because they were both in like guests on CW shows,
right?
But when you do those panels, it's whatever like the fans want to ask. So it went all over the place.
Oh, sure.
And it was great. They were both awesome. They were both super friendly. I was a little starstruck because, like you're not obviously not supposed to be. You kind of get over it. I met them backstage. I went and met them actually at the Walk of Fame and like introduced myself and blah, blah, blah. But I'm sitting there and we're talking about the shows. And I was like, dude, I've watched all of these. Like I've seen so much stuff Arthur Darvill is in that it was, it kind of had that moment of like, oh, we're just sitting here chit chatting at a table. Like it was pretty bizarre. But he was great. He was super nice, super pleasant, great to the fans, as she was too. Now she's a fairly new actress, and so whereas Arthur Darvill's been in like a million things.
Mm-hmm.
He's
been in everything.
But again, they were both awesome. It was super fun.
It's always nice to hear
Thank
that.
you for asking. Yeah.
It's always nice to hear, when you have a good experience with a celebrity of some, instead of the D-bag celebrities.
Exactly.
Don't give a rip about anybody. They're just there for the pictures and the exposure, and they don't care about anything else. But yeah, that's nice to hear. Okay.
All right, well, very good. We'll go ahead and move on to our next topic, or not next topic, but our next example. And that's, so for me, what I enjoyed was my panel. And I always go through the same thing whenever I do a panel. And most of it's academic panels. The first thing I do is, I'm so excited to present the paper. Then once I get closer to it, I always go through why did I agree to do this? It's going to be a lot of work. And then you start stressing out about, obviously preparing the presentation, making sure that you don't sound like an idiot, right? Mm-hmm. You do your research, organize it in a way that's clear, and then you sort of stress out about it. So and leading up to Dragon Con, I was working on my panel and working on how I was going to say everything. And then I started stressing out about it being too long and needing to condense it down. So obviously I was worried about that. But then, of course, when I actually deliver the presentation, when I present my paper, it's a whole lot of fun. It's a blast. I was not expecting, so I wasn't an amazing crowd, but there was a crowd. There was people there. So I was expecting an empty room.
I saw at least 3 people watching it. Yeah.
Sure, nice.
Right? From the picture I saw.
It was probably 10, 12, something like that, which for an academic panel, as someone who has delivered papers at academic conferences before, that's a big crowd, right? So that's a pretty decent crowd. So having 8 to 12 people there was great, and they seemed to be engaged with what I was talking about.
I was a little disappointed that you didn't present it in your cosplay. I was kind of
perhaps
you might have gotten 13 people there if you'd have delivered it in your cosplay.
There would have been more people if it wasn't first thing on Sunday, I think.
Oh yeah, dude, that's a rough time.
Yeah.
Which is great, because I thought that was a good crowd. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that crowd. So I enjoyed it.
Service.
I talked way too long. Way
Anthony
too
delivered
long.
church.
And I feel bad about that. But I enjoyed the process. I feel like people were engaged. I felt like people were enjoying what I was talking about. And it was a good time. And this happens every time I deliver a presentation, a speech, whatever I do. As soon as I'm done with it, I'm like, oh, yes, I'm done. And it just happened to be on Sunday. So, but that was a whole lot of fun.
Who was next to you? I saw it in the picture. Who was that?
There was another presenter there. I think there were supposed to be 3 of us. I will say that I'm always very disappointed that they don't promote what the actual papers are on. It just said it's a very generic title. The title actually didn't really seem to fit with what we were all talking about either, right? It just basically just said comic books but anyways, so it didn't mention anything about what our individual papers were about. Usually with conferences, it does say that, this person's presenting this paper on this. So like getting Joker fans, for example, to come, that wasn't going to happen, obviously, because no one knew what the panels were about. So, but it was definitely good. Kerry was there, who's been on the show several times. He was there. So that was cool to see him as well.
So did you have a line of questions after you got done?
I went way too long that we didn't have that many questions.
Oh, okay.
But we did have a couple questions. We had several questions. They were great questions. They were great questions asked. So, but,
Anthony, you make a good point. Unfortunately, the panel names and descriptions were probably out of your control. But yeah. I've worked in other tracks where we try to focus on a good name, because I mean you look through the app, there's a billion things, and the titles get cut off. So you really have to, there's like I don't want to say a skill, but like a challenge to naming a good panel so it catches people's attention. And I think it was Jeremy that said it. Also, when it's Sunday morning, it's a hard spot. So, but I'm happy for you, man, because a lot of people, you underestimate what 10 people look like, and that's a crowd. If you had 10 people standing around you, that's a crowd of people. So I'm glad you appreciated that many people came out, because, it really is more than you realize. We get, with so many likes on social media, you get weary, like, oh, 10's nothing, but it is. I've been in rooms with 10 people. It's a presentation.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. I'm glad it went well.
Yeah, it was a whole lot of fun. And Jeremy, thank you so much for coming to watch it. So that was
so 9. It was 9 people. No, I'm kidding.
It was 9 people.
I actually would have liked to have gone. I think I had a Sunday morning panel.
Yeah.
Else I would have.
I liked the tweet of the picture. So
and of course
it was
it was broadcasted on DragonCon TV. So who knows how many people watched it on DragonCon TV in their hotel room? I have no idea. There's no way to know that as well. So
thousands.
Yeah.
Did you tag CPAC 2022?
He did. No. What you did a few.
So the joke that Jeremy's making is the academic part of DragonCon is called CPAC, and CPAC also stands for the conservative convention as well.
Oh, boy.
So it's the same. So tagging it, you have to be very careful that you're not tagging the conservative conference. But yeah.
Well, they could have enjoyed it.
Tag them too. Who cares? I was like, exposure is exposure.
They're fans of the Joker just for different reasons. So
that's true. I talked about it in my panel, didn't I? All right, so let's go ahead and move on to Jeremy. What's your next one?
All right. So this is something that I've talked about before, but I feel even more strongly about it now. And that is DragonCon needs to stop being built on the backs of volunteers.
Okay. Let's unpack it. This is I'll let you finish.
Yeah. So
it's going to be a long discussion.
No, it's a good one though. I'm with you. Go ahead. Let's let him finish.
So I mean, as a and I'm not doing this from like a workers' rights perspective, right? Even though I think that's important, but it makes the experience better for everybody if money's involved and there's accountability. So pay the people what they should be paid, right? They shouldn't be out there working for essentially $5 an hour or less. Then you're an employee, right? You're a contractor. So you're expected to hold certain standards. It improves the ability to hold people accountable and to reward them for their work. So, the vast number, like the attendee to volunteer ratio, you don't have to make a large increase in the price. I mean, even though I don't know where all that money's going that they're making anyway, but you don't have to make a large increase in the ticket price to make a substantial effect at the volunteer, the employee level, right? The contractor level. So this year in particular, right, they mentioned there was a Um, there wasn't enough volunteers for especially the parties, right? So there was like communication between the different parties were different. You had some that if you left, you couldn't come back in because there weren't enough people to monitor all that situation. And this was right off the get go with Dragon Con Wrestling is when I first noticed it starting, and then it kind of continues out the weekend. But that shouldn't happen at an event of this level. So, I get that it was run a certain way for a long period of time, and especially now, right? Like we should be more hyper aware of taking advantage of people. So just pay people money. It's pretty much where I'll end it.
I agree 100%, man. I've been going to this con. I've honestly lost track. I think it's like 15 years at this point. I love it to death. It's like one of my favorite things of all time. However, I agree with you 100%. There's, if you're struggling to find volunteers, that's probably why, because they don't want to, do the work for free. And it is a lot of work, man. Like, I want to say if you sign up to be a volunteer, I think you have to commit 20 hours, which is a part-time job.
Yeah, man, it's 4 hours
over the course
every day.
of a short, let's say a short week. We'll call it a short week, not a long weekend. Over the course of a short week, you're putting in part-time job. And a lot of people do more than that because, they're short, they need help. And it's over the course of 24 hours. There's, I know people that do tech. Those shows run, to 3, 4, 5 in the morning. So yeah, I don't know all the financials. I don't know all the in and outs, but just from a high level, I definitely think it should be a paid gig. It doesn't have to pay, great. It doesn't have to be a career, but there should be something. And then to Jeremy's point, when you're just a volunteer, you don't care. Say you have a crappy night, like, all right, I'm leaving. So I just don't ever do this again. I think there'd be a lot of benefits from making it like you said, a contractor gig.
Okay, so how much is, not including hotels or anything, how much is it to just buy a week pass or however long it is to get into Dragon Con every single day? Like, how much would I have to pay for that badge?
Well, if you bought it the day after Dragon Con, it's $95.
Okay.
We'll call it 100 for 5. Yeah. Let's say between 100 and 150 for the entire.
So would you be willing to pay $300 for a Dragon Con ticket if that meant that you actually had professional workers getting paid, doing a professional job, and making this an event at the professional level? Would you pay anywhere from $300 to $500 a ticket?
Well, the thing is, because of the scale of crowds, you wouldn't have to pay that much to make a vast difference.
Well, how many people are we talking about here? Like, how many people are we talking about that
volunteers
that work this? Yeah.
Oh boy, there's a lot. Like,
yeah. I'm sure it's substantial.
Thousands, would you say?
So you're gonna have to pay probably thousands of people.
But we're talking about 60,000 people per day coming.
Yes, 60,000 guests. I'll answer your question. Say I normally pay $150. I personally am in a position where I wouldn't mind paying an extra $150 because, again, fortunately, I'm able to. Now there's a lot of people who can't, that are really, stretching to make it. So it would tick a lot of people off. And I forgot what my other point was going to be, but
you could do something where it's particularly hard to find volunteers. Just pay them during those hours. Like
boost it out, like
now we're getting the whole Uber.
Yeah.
This is what I would do. It depending on the job that you're doing. Like, if you do this job during Dragon Con, you get paid this amount of money. Period. Like, just for argument's sake, we'll call it $2,000. Like, at the end of Dragon Con, if you did this and you showed up every day and you did what we told you to do, at the end of Dragon Con, we're going to give you a check for $2,000. Like, here you go. Enjoy it. Thanks. See you next year. Or, on a higher level, if you're doing, video production or, judging or whatever it is, then you get a little more because it's going to be maybe more time, or it's a little more detailed, then you get $4,000 or whatever it is. Like, you get done, you do your stuff, here's your $4,000 at the end of the. So you do that over the scale of thousands of people. I mean, you're gonna have to find that revenue somewhere.
Well,
Whether
I mean,
that
but
be
the
ticket
thing is,
sales or
where's the money currently going? Because
probably to rent out all these spaces.
if they're paying those hotels, they need someone to renegotiate, because those hotels make
I would love to
so
see.
much money.
Oh, I would
off
love to
that
see
weekend.
I would love to see the contracts, just out of curiosity, to know how much all these spaces are costing. And of course, I'm sure some of it goes to the city of Atlanta for blocking off roads and that kind of,
Permits and-
permits. and that
But
kind
but
of stuff,
again,
yeah.
the amount
city
of
makes a ton of
influx into that local economy
Oh,
is huge. I mean,
Yeah.
so if they're paying like significant money to the host hotels or to the city, they need to go to CPAC and get those negotiators.
Wait,
guys,
which CPAC?
the bad ones, because those guys know how to turn screws. It's like the
Yeah.
America's Mart, sure, right? Because you're pretty much renting out the building, but the rest of them, they're benefiting tons by having those crowds there.
I'm with Acid. Like, I would love to get my hands on their books,
Mhm.
and I have a very minimal, because I do moderating, very minimal insider knowledge, like not at all. Like, I'll talk to, I'll hear stuff about some of the guests or what happened or whatever, but outside of that, I don't have any info, and I would love to get, like I said, look at them books. And of course, I always think I can do it better. Everybody thinks they can do it better, but I at least want to look at it. I will say, for the longest time, the money, also the founders get a cut, by the way. They get paid every year. And I want to say, because it's like public knowledge. Oh, I'm all over the place. DragonCon, first off, is a nonprofit, technically. So
That
they
would
follow
have to change.
all the rules of nonprofit and bloobity blobbity blue. And then the founders, which was initially 4 dudes, they get like 150 grand, 200 grand a year from the event. But then they bought out one of the founders because he had a lot of bad publicity and a lot of bad stuff allegedly going on, which I think is actually founded in court. But anyway, so they changed the name and bought him out. So there's an element of that. But yeah, it still goes, money still goes to those quote unquote founders while they're still around. So
Yeah, I mean, a nonprofit. I mean, nonprofit. Like, as long as you're spending the money and you say it's for that goal, and that goal could be because I need to get paid more, you can maintain nonprofit status. And nonprofits can, you can have employees, you can have contractors, right?
yes.
So all that
Yeah.
could stay the same, but
All right, fantastic. Well, Tony, we'll go ahead and get this is your second point.
Yes, my number 2. Something I didn't like. I just think it was different from years past. A lot of people said the vibe was kind of off. I was trying to figure out why. I think it was just hot. That's my complaint. That's my number 2. Damn, it was hot.
Yes,
From numerous hotels, just seemed like the air wasn't working, or it wasn't down enough. You got, like Jeremy said, 60,000 people crammed in a room. I need a little AC. I do a lot with the digital media. I didn't do that much this year, but I used to do a lot of work with the digital media track. They're in the basement of the Hilton. And I used to love just sitting in the room, listening to people, kind of relaxing, getting off my feet. And all of those panels were hot. Like, I was ready to leave. I did not want to be there, which makes it, unpleasant experience when I want to sit for an hour and watch a panel. And next thing I know, I'm sweating, which I'll add more credit. I hate to do it, but more credit to Anthony for wearing that damn cosplay, man. Cause it was hot.
It was very hot. I will say this about the when we moved to the America's Mart to do our one shot, it was freezing in there. It was freezing in the America's Mart. Oh
the
my
America's Mart
goodness.
and the Westin were top notch on the AC.
See, I'm used to staying at the Westin. Maybe I got spoiled.
Yeah, it was the America's Mart was freezing. But yeah, great. Yeah, so there you go. We'll quickly get to our number 3 here. And my third one is once again, I already mentioned before that what I used to like about cons has slowly shifted. So when I first started going to Dragon Con, I was far more interested in getting celebrity autographs, getting pictures with celebrities, buying merchandise, like collecting, like as you can see in my background, right? Collecting things. And I did not buy a single thing this year.
Wow.
I did not buy one thing.
What?
That's crazy.
Not even your
No.
one expensive item?
I did not buy one expensive item. So I did spend a lot of money on food, way more than what I usually did. So so when it came to food, usually the places that did not have a long wait were the expensive places. So if you wanted to eat and you really wanted to eat, you had to go to the expensive places to eat. So I had some very pricey meals, including the $75 steak, which was okay, right? What did you think of your steak, Jeremy? Did you like it?
So I got the steak au poivre kind of because I knew that I knew the quality at cut, and I don't think it's worth it for just the normal steak. So mine was like a cheaper meat in sauce.
Yeah, I got the New York strip with nothing came with it because you had to buy per side as well. So nothing came with it.
Where is this place?
It's downtown Atlanta. It's called Cuts. It's a steak place. It was a $75 steak with
Oh,
I didn't get
rip-offs.
anything else with it.
Was it that much?
Yes. It was
The whole meal or just the
He
steak?
knows he paid for it.
I mean, I just remember looking at the menu. And I mean, because I didn't think it was. I thought it was more of like $45, $50.
I'm pretty sure mine was it was like 65. But then with tip and everything, it came out to $75.
Jeez.
Yeah. It was,
Did you not get any sides or veggies or nothing?
No sides. I did eat Jeremy's sides. I did because he had some mashed potatoes. I was like, "We gonna eat those mashed potatoes?"
For like $20 mashed potatoes, man.
He said, "Yeah, man, $10."
Then I had another very expensive meal at the new place Alma Cocina. I had a fish which was about this big. It was a fish fillet about that big, but it was in this sauce which was phenomenal. Like the sauce, like the broth that it was in, it had like all kinds of stuff in it. It was phenomenal. So I would say it was worth it because that came out to about $40 for that meal. So just for the broth itself, like I was drinking it. It was so good. But yeah, so I slowly shifted away. So this Dragon Con was far more hanging out with everybody. Okay. So we did a one shot, right? Obviously, I am a scrub, so I went to bed way earlier than the rest of you guys did. You guys were up way later. I went to bed much earlier. So that's one thing I enjoy was just hanging out with the crew. All right, Jeremy, we'll go ahead and get to your last one.
Yeah, I mean, my last one's going to be the same.
The fish broth?
No, just the fun hanging out with everybody. I mean, I was sore from laughing up until just a couple days ago. It's some of the, so a few years ago we started kind of picking the strangest panels we could possibly find and going to them. And I laughed harder than I have in probably ever. And yeah, it was a ton of fun. All the Dragon Con After Dark stuff. There was one panel that was just odd, and I still don't know if I understand it. It was probably the oddest experience of my life. But the parties, the burlesque show was awesome. It's the first time we've been able to make it into that. Was a lot of fun. The one shot was great.
That one shot was fun.
Yeah, it was. I mean, because you role play in normal D&D, but like physically doing it, sort of like a LARP / D&D session.
How long did it last? How long were y'all playing?
It was a good bit. It was like 2 hours.
It was I think it was more like 3. And I feel like we sort of artificially railroaded it at the end because people were getting hangry.
Yeah, we were hungry.
Sure.
It was cold. We were cold, and we were hungry. But it was fun. Like it was a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, it was great.
No, we got to know what this weird panel is, Jeremy. There's no way
all right,
we're gonna let it slide. Yeah, come on.
So,
I mean, keep it family friendly, but other than that, I want to know what.
So it was one of the. It was
Was it the furry meetup? Did you go to the furry meetup?
No, we didn't. We didn't make a furry meetup.
Okay, all right.
It was the W Your Own.
I knew it. I knew it was gonna be.
So the premise of this video game is that I still don't know if I understand it. The premise of the video game is that you're in school, but everyone else is a bird.
Of course.
But it gets weird. And we got one of our people in the group to go up and do one of the whole the W Your Own sessions. And yeah, it was odd because we are sitting there having no idea what's going on near some people who are very into it. And yeah, so it was the oddest experience of my life.
I want to say, I think it was W Your Own, maybe it was Otani. Does that sound right?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Because they used to do W Your Own hentai.
Yeah.
I went to that once, and yes, weird. Fun, interesting, just weird. And I noticed the difference, and I was like, oh, maybe they're changing it, and I don't know what Otani is. I don't know. Maybe it's the bird school. I don't know. But I'd love to hear more about that. I wish I could have made it.
Yeah, it was an experience.
Yeah, it was definitely. I couldn't physically stay up with you guys that late. I couldn't. I'm a scrub.
And it is a late night panel because it's a little more adult.
All the crazy stuff that they did was way after I went back to the hotel, took a shower, and went to bed. Right. Excellent. Acid, did you have a question?
Are there a lot of kids that show up at Dragon Con, like just in general?
So here's the kids situation,
like under,
right? Because
under 15.
Yes.
This is always fascinated me because as a father who knows that my kids would love parts of Dragon Con, I've been debating at what age do I take them, or do I take them at all, or is this just daddy's trip, right? So, do you like that? This is daddy's time, right? So, there are people who bring kids, right?
Okay.
And they're adorable and they dress up and everything. But man, that's got to be a nightmare. It's got to be a nightmare for the parents because there's so much there in terms of the kids there's probably a point where they start getting tired and fussy. Sure. And where are you staying? Do you stay at the host hotel with the kids? That's a disaster, right? Or do you going back to where you're staying, right? But then also that's the concern of it's a big crowd and you're taking your kids there. It's them getting hurt or taken. That's scary,
Or exposed to inappropriate.
Exposed to
behavior.
Inappropriateness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was one time where there was a kid who was taking a picture with me, and this is just a kind of an example of I have the Spider-Man head. And he was freaked out about the Spider-Man head. And I had to take off my mask and say, hey, buddy, this is all pretend. You okay and everything? And then he thought it was cool that I took my mask off. So,
oh, okay.
But so there's that going on as well. But so to me, I think if I ever take Victor, for example, he's got to be a teenager. He's got to be a teenager.
Okay.
Because I saw parents with babies.
Oh, wow.
3-month-old, you're insane. That's insane.
I saw a couple babies and was like, what? Especially, look, COVID's still a thing. There's a lot of people this year that, unfortunately, are getting COVID after Dragon Con, and it's just not the healthiest year. The rule was everyone was supposed to wear masks, so. If you're supposed to wear a mask, then I think leave the babies at home. We're just not there yet. Maybe next year, a better, healthier year. But as to your concern, the way the con works is before 10 p.m., It's supposed to be family friendly. So
Okay.
no language at panels. Things slip here and there, but not obscenities after obscenities before 10. Also, the costumes are supposed to be decent before 10. That kind of slides and slips a little bit. Yeah, Jeremy, exactly.
if say somebody, we'll just use cosplay for an example. If a girl comes up in a cosplay and basically her only cover up is her nipples and her undercarriage areas.
Which mistake you're making is thinking it's just the women.
Well, I'm sure
the dudes are hanging free.
But I'm just and that too. And then you have your 8-year-old with you, and they see a dong, coming out of somebody's kilt or whatever. And I mean, do they kick these people out if they see this before 10, or they just go, oh, look, there's Anthony's dong hanging out of his,
A lot of it is like self-regulated. I have seen people. All right, so the perfect example I saw one year, it was ages ago, because I was on the shuttle because I was staying off site. This dude got on the shuttle dressed as Captain Underpants, which is like giant. You guys know, giant tighty whities, a cape. And he was a heavier white guy with a shaved head. He looked like the character. But they sent him home. They said, hey, that's a little inappropriate for during the day. And he was like, but it's a kid's thing. Like, so it was like a weird balance, but I haven't seen that enforced in a while. And I think it goes back to lack of volunteers,
Are there, I'm sure there's security, but is there enough security for like, if something
is there ever enough security
happens, like if a fight breaks out or somebody's super drunk and starts making a scene and that kind of stuff?
Did you see the Facebook thread about the guy who brought a gun? Like a
real
gun?
No.
I don't know if it actually was true or not, if he actually did, but there was a whole thread about a guy who walked into one of the hotels and he was carrying a gun. Like, it was definitely like I don't think he was like, mass shooter, but he was definitely like good guy with a gun kind of guy, right? So, and there was a whole thread about him bringing the gun in. So there's a lot of SWAT people there too. There's a lot. I mean, I saw a lot more SWAT this year than in past. But that
like
was
in cosplay or actual SWAT.
That's another thing. That sometimes it can be hard to tell which one's which. But
yeah, like I feel security for the parade is definitely like the pinnacle of the weekend. Like, because like I'm sure there's snipers on rooftops during that parade.
Wow. Okay.
It's a citywide event, so like, it's the Dragon Con parade, but it's open to the public. It's a citywide event. A ridiculous amount of people, because you don't need a ticket. So like, it's a holiday weekend. A lot of people just come down for that, and bring their kids. It's the best for kids. Like, it's awesome. But to Jeremy's point, it's a lot of organization and logistics.
Yeah, so, I think for the kids, so that's one thing I will say. For the parade, it makes sense. Like, if the parade, going to the parade with your kids makes a whole lot of sense, right? That's fine, because then you could just take the MARTA there or whatever you need to do, right? But like,
hang out for a few hours and go home. Yeah,
then you go home. But I've seen I saw people walking around 10 o'clock at night with 3-year-old baby. I'm like, what is happening? What are you doing? And like, I get it. I know that there are certain parents out there that are like, we are a family and we go everywhere together. Like, I get those type of parents, but at the
same time, it's 2 a.m. What are you doing?
Yeah, no, it's
go to sleep.
Yeah. I would never do it.
I'm not a parent. I just don't think there's any good reason, to do that. Period. Like, it's a fun event. You don't have to be there, so you can just stay home or, work it out with your partner and your family. If you go one year, maybe, Anthony, if your wife was a big fan, maybe you guys alternate years or something.
Well, she's not.
But like work it out. That's in your house. work it out so you don't have to bring your baby to Dragon Con.
Yeah, I get some people just that are like, Dragon Con, I've been going to Dragon Con since 1980, like whatever. I get people are like that, and it's like, I don't care if I have I'm taking my. I get it, but it's just like that. and it's at a certain point the kids are not having fun anymore.
No.
Right? So yeah, so
Like it's
no.
cool
you're
for
not
an
having
hour
fun.
for these kids, and then it's miserable the rest of the time for them because they don't care anymore. Now they just want to go play Nintendo Switch at home, you know, or whatever.
Tony, did we get to your third thing yet?
No, last one. All right. So the highlight of this year's con, the highlight of probably many a cons that have been and to come. Again, I've been fortunate. I do a little bit of moderating here and there, and I had a panel with Brian Michael Bendis and David Mack, and I've met them virtually, so I was asked to do it again. However, you may be saying to yourself, I don't remember seeing that.
Was this the one that wasn't on the app?
It's exactly that one, Jeremy. You may be like, I didn't know that was even happening. For one reason or another, it got left off of the app. There was a lot of confusion. I was texting the director, like, what is going on? Are we doing this? She's like, yes, we're doing it. It's happening. It's like, I don't know how anyone's going to know. So I get to the room, tech's confused. The guests are confused. There were like 3 or 4 people there. And I was like, how'd you find this? They're like, I was just walking around. I saw it on the board. So outside of every room, they have a printed schedule. And people were like, yeah, I just happened to see it. And I was in the neighborhood, so I dropped in. There's a rumor it was in the app for a split second. Someone has like a screenshot of it being on the app. But anyway, Brian Michael Bendis and David Mack show up, and I have to go to them and say, hey, I don't know what happened. And they're like, yeah, it wasn't in the app. There was an issue. And I said, if you don't mind, since you got like 4 people here, can you just say hello for 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll get out of here and we'll call it a day. And Brian Michael Bendis, being the awesome person that he is, he was like, yeah, man, sure. Tell you what, let's just pull up some chairs. So he like made a little circle of chairs, and there's like 7 of us sitting around in a fucking powwow talking comics to one of the biggest comic creators of all time. It'll never happen again. There was like somebody in that room posted it on Reddit. That's the only reason like any like an image or anything got out. But yeah, it was just wow. Amazing.
Was
yeah,
it at least recorded?
No. There's one still image of Brian Michael Bendis, David Mack, and then like my stomach and the bottom of my shoe because of the angle. No, dude, like it's going to be one of those stories of like, were you in that room? You know, there's going to be like 100 people now that were there. Like I was, you know, but It was literally like 4 dudes, me, the 2 celebrities, and like a tech person who was like, I'll sit here and listen, and kind of was just helping us fill the little circle.
Wow.
The most bizarre thing. And Acid, you'll love. He was amazing. Brian Michael Bendis was super friendly. He didn't have to do that. We sat there for an hour. I was like, yo, it's an hour. We got to go.
That's awesome.
Like their time's up. And just talking how he created Miles Morales and how they worked on Jessica Jones and this and that. Super nice, super friendly. So yeah, probably.
Man, you should have just had it rolled in like a cooler of beer. You know, just sit back.
We were almost there. I think they were hitting the road after that. Like,
man.
But it was, dude, it was this giant room. Someone said on Reddit, they're like, we're in this giant room because they were expecting a big turnout for Bendis. And we're just sitting in a little circle, you know, like, wow. But yeah, it was amazing. Like I said, one of my favorite things ever. So,
all right, well,
sorry,
cool.
Y'all missed it.
Yeah, but very cool. So we kind of all went through our top 3 things that we enjoyed or did not enjoy. Jeremy would just badmouth and Dragon Con the whole time. Just kidding. I think we all sort of had experiences that we're like, yeah, I'm not really crazy about what happened there, but it's completely understandable. But yeah, Acid, did you want to say one more thing before we head out?
Real quick question. I know you didn't buy anything, Anthony, but how were the vendors? Were they decent? Would y'all walk through there or anything like that?
There was an issue. What was the issue with it was extremely hard to get into the vendor hall this year. I didn't have a problem just because I went at the right time
too. Is a problem.
Yeah, that was weird. They had panels in the
the vendor
America's
hall?
Mart. Like
Mm.
it's a giant like facility. It's hard to explain America's Mart unless you've seen it in person. But like, so yeah, they had little rooms as well, I think, for some of the comic and pop. And yeah, that didn't help with the lines. And I think Jeremy hit the nail on the head. Probably lack of volunteers. You know, it's
Yeah.
hard to organize all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, because the reason they funnel everybody through that one spot is just to keep track of the number of people. But there's no reason you couldn't do that with multiple entry points. So yeah, it's
And
just-
communication. Yeah.
yeah.
And I will say this about the vendor hall, and I've made a comment this to Jeremy before in the past, is that for whatever reason, and I'm sure it has a lot to do with our economy, but it felt like the vendor hall was even more expensive than it usually is. Like the prices were marked up even more so than they usually
Wow.
are. And I get if it's like a handcrafted item that you made, charge whatever you want for it. If it's a Thor Love and Thunder action figure that's still out on the shelf and you're charging $40 for it, you know what? Screw you. Like seriously.
I mean,
Like-
it costs more for them to get there. It costs more for them to ship their stuff there. Like everything's just expensive.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you're definitely right, but then you're not going to end up selling anything. Then you just wasted all that money for. I mean, it's not like they're selling everything in their, in their
Yeah.
little.
I mean, you could have bought a $75 steak instead, you know. If you
I'm-
wasted
I'm-
on an action figure.
I'm with Anthony though. Like I don't buy a lot of stuff. I like the art. Like I'll go look at all the artists because
Mhm.
you're not going to find
Now
that.
that's
at
the thing
Target.
where the markup happens.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong. But you're not going to find that at Target. That's why I don't like a lot of the vendors. If they don't make their own products or have a unique product, it's
Yeah.
just resale, and I'm like, meh.
That's
I'm
why when I
never-
went to con, I got all con only things that you can't.
Yeah,
art
yeah,
over
you know,
there.
that's fun.
It's just stuff that you can't go into Target or Walmart or even Amazon and get.
Mm.
Yeah, like Anthony knows, I've been looking for this for like the one painting for I don't know how long have we been going to cons?
Yeah.
10 years or something.
It's like your holy grail.
Yeah, like the one unique thing. But I haven't found anything that I'm willing to spend $10,000 or $12,000 on because that's how much they charge for
Mhm.
those unique pieces
Oh
of
shit,
art.
dude! I'm buying prints.
Yeah, but still, it's like
the same.
like-
In a frame, you'll never know.
it's not worth that much money.
hmm
Yeah, I have been disappointed with the vendor hall, especially at Dragon Con, because not every con is as disappointing as Dragon Con. Like I feel like there's been other cons where I've enjoyed the vendor places way more. I don't know if it's the prices or if it's the variety of stuff, because Dragon Con definitely has, oh look, it's another kilt
Yes.
vendor.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it.
I feel like
There's a lot
every
of-
con the vendors are similar, right? Like
Yeah.
you're hitting all the same things.
And the helmet guy that I love, the helmet guy, I was going to buy another helmet from him, but I was going to wait until the end. And by the time I went back, the one that I wanted was gone. So congratulations, good for him. So, yeah. But that is the show for today. We talked about Dragon Con. What did you like? What did you not like? Do you disagree with what Jeremy said? Once again, you can check out us on sci-figangsters.com, wherever you get your podcasts as well. Tony P. Henderson, you can check him out at the Tony P. Oddcast.
Yep.
So
And
that's
TonyPHenderson.com. My
Links below.
question. Every year we do this, I got to know. Acid,
Yeah.
DC 23, you going to be there?
Unless my wife says I can buy a car,
Oh.
No, don't pin it on your wife. Well, it depends with the wife.
The problem, well, at least right now, the problem is the time that it falls it's so busy for us at work.
This is very true. This has been-
because
yeah.
it's school has just started and we're already short so many bus drivers. They wouldn't even let me go at this point. They're like, no, you're not going. Sorry, we need you here. I'd have to call out sick and then have to go to the doctor just so I could have to get a doctor's note.
But Acid, you can come 2 days, man. You can come on a Friday afternoon or a Saturday morning.
I could.
You know.
I would be useless.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
I would be completely. I probably wouldn't even enjoy myself just because of how much stress and drain comes from the beginning of school. At least the first
I
like
believe it.
6 weeks of school is a nightmare. Because I mean, we're still short bus drivers, and we're still. I mean, I get yelled at every day by a parent. Every day I get cussed at and yelled at, and Anthony
It's
calls
just
me
me.
and does it. Yeah.
All right,
So-
all of that makes perfect sense.
Which is
really
why
do.
I like. I know I've only been once, but I'm kind of thinking I'm going to make Combo Breaker a thing because it's at the end of the school year. You know,
It's like
it-
a little
it starts-
vacation.
it starts the day after school is done for the summer. So I get to go. I get to spend about 4 or 5 days out there in Chicago and enjoy myself. And I don't have any stress when I come back because
Nice,
school's out. You know?
nice.
So it's real nice.
All of that makes perfect sense, man. I totally understand it. However, you got 360 days to sort it out.
That's true.
There you
I can
go.
quit. I could quit the job.
Figure it out.
All right, well,
I'll
that's
go
our-
volunteer. How about that?
Sorted.
We'll end on that high note. Thanks for watching, everybody. Goodbye.